Hi guys, Taylor Hunt, Ashtanga Yoga Columbus. Here today to talk about bandhas, and this is a gigantic topic. I think the first thing that I need to talk about is really maybe my experience with it. And so my experience with the bandhas is that they're kind of like a book. At one point I was reading the first chapter, which is what I thought the bandhas were, and then a little bit later on I was reading the second chapter, and it was kind of building on the first chapter, and then the third chapter came along and it kind of like wiped the other two chapters away, and then I kind of moved on from there, and so it's kind of been this unfolding that's happening. But there's a couple keys that I feel like are number one, like important, the most important things that you can realize is that when you're doing your Ashtanga yoga practice, the number one thing that I feel like helps is that when you're practicing the postures, pulling in the lower belly. So everything below the belly is actually pulled in instead of that dropping out feeling. That's number one. Number two, what I found, or the second chapter, was really that I was actually trying to bring the hip bones together. This is not physically possible, but there's like this action that happens where a little bit of transverse abdominis and a little bit of pelvic floor and lower abdomen, and it feels like the hip points are being pulled together. And I would say that that's really kind of like the second chapter, or that's maybe the second base or something like that. The next thing that came along was the two sit bones. There was kind of like this action of pulling those things together as well. And so the sit bones are the two like bony protrusions on your butt. And it was when I was doing the postures, I was pulling in the lower belly, feeling like the hips are being brought together, but also like the sit bones are being brought together. And so we're adding some sort of stability down there. And then the last thing, I feel like maybe the most important, and Patabi Joyce used to say like lift the anus or squeeze the anus. I'm not going to say that again. I don't say it quite often, but I do kind of like give the cue of just kind of like feeling like it's lifting up down there. And for some reason, with all of the movement that we do in Ashtanga Yoga, what happens is that we get this kind of stability in movement, and your practice becomes light. And so check out those spots. Below the lower belly, feel like you're pulling it in. The hip bones, feel like you're pulling them together. The sit bones, feel like you're pulling those together. And then also this lifting up of like the anus. And all of that together is kind of like how to access that area where we're trying to go in order to gain that lightness or to gain the bandha quality in our yoga practice. So check it out in your yoga practice, see if it helps you out. Thanks for joining me today. Namaste.